The one big, beautiful bill changes the requirements to receive federal benefits that many veterans rely upon, but disabled veterans may not have much to worry about. In fact, the law carves out some incredible exceptions for disabled veterans, and you don't even have to be 100% disabled to get them. So grab your coffee, have a seat, and we'll discuss them here on Vets with Benefits. There has been a lot of talk on the news and social media regarding the recently enacted law called the One Big Beautiful Bill. Today, we're tackling the question, how are veterans going to be affected by this new law? Remember, the information I provide here is for educational purposes only, and it is not legal advice. It is based on the information available as of July 28, 2025. For simplicity, I'm going to refer to the new law by its official designation of H.R. 1. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. There is nothing in the new law that directly affects the provision of VA benefits. Rather, the changes are to other benefit programs like SNAP and Medicaid, and some tax law changes as well. Indeed, the only provision in H.R. 1 that affects veteran-specific benefits is an appropriation of $6 million for Armed Forces Retirement Home facilities. But this podcast isn't just about VA benefits. It's about benefits for vets. So we're going to talk about how H.R. 1 affects vets and some of the governmental benefit programs they may use. But let me be straight with you. Some of these changes are going to help veterans, and some of them are going to hurt. My job today is to make sure you understand both sides so you can protect yourself and your family. This law makes changes that may affect veterans in three significant areas. 1, food assistance through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP. Second, income tax treatment for forgiven student loans for certain disabled veterans. And the big one, number 3, healthcare access through Medicaid. First, let's tackle the changes to SNAP, what many of us know as food stamps. If you're one of the veterans currently using SNAP benefits, you need to pay attention to this. According to the National Council on Aging, as of May 22, 2025, about 1 in 5 veterans face food insecurity. About 18 million Americans are veterans, so that means that about 3.5 million vets may be going hungry. Under SNAPs, individuals considered to be able-bodied adults without dependents are required to participate in work or training requirements in order to receive the SNAP benefits. Under the current law, veterans that are otherwise qualified for SNAP are exempted from that requirement. But H.R. 1 revoked that veterans exemption. Effective October 1st, 2025, the new law modifies the work or training requirement for SNAP recipients. So, in addition to other eligibility requirements, if you're an able-bodied person without dependents, aged 18 to 65, you will be required to work or participate in training for at least 80 hours per month, or about 20 hours a week, regardless of your veteran status. However, there is an exception to that new rule. Individuals who are medically certified as physically or mentally unfit for employment are exempt from the work or training requirement. This could be good news for veterans who VA found to be unemployable, that is, eligible for a total disability rating based on individual unemployability, also known as TDIU. But importantly, the standards under SNAP and VA are not the same. There is a difference between being medically certified as unfit for employment for SNAP purposes and being unemployable for VA's purposes. That said, it seems that there could be significant overlap, and that overlap may make eligibility easier for unemployable veterans. Also, before H.R. 1, homeless individuals were exempt from the work and training requirement. However, H.R. 1 removed that exemption for people experiencing homelessness, and that would include homeless veterans too. So homeless veterans will be required to meet the work and training requirement, notwithstanding their homelessness. But if a veteran is homeless in part due to a medical condition that makes them unfit for employment, it seems they could also be exempt from the 80-hour work and training requirement. For homeless veterans suffering from physical or mental disability, that could be a pathway to continue being exempted from the work and training requirements. Only time will tell, but don't let that keep you from trying. Here's what you need to do today if you receive or anticipate that you may need SNAP benefits. First, contact your local SNAP office immediately. Don't wait for a letter. Be proactive. Find out what you need to do to obtain or protect your benefits. Second, document any qualifying exemptions. If you're physically or mentally unfit for employment, get medical certifications from your doctor stating that. People should do this regardless of whether they are veterans. But because of the removal of the veteran status exemption, it's even more important that qualifying veterans get the documentation they need to qualify. This may be bad news for some of you. The good news for others of you is that this change may not have much of an effect, but it may require some time and effort to get the required documentation in place. Before I go any further, I'd like to thank Vetis Legal for its sponsorship of this podcast. If you or anyone you know needs help with their VA compensation claims, give them a call at 1-508-205-2503 or go to vetislegal.com. That's VETUSLEGAL.com. And let them know you heard about them on the Vets with Benefits podcast. Let's talk about some good news, especially if you're a veteran who has student loan debt and you either have or may be awarded permanent and total disability status through the VA. Under current law, veterans who are found to be permanently and totally disabled through VA can have their federal student loans forgiven entirely. That forgiveness can include reimbursement to the veteran of any student loan payments made after the effective date that a veteran is found to be permanent and total. This is a huge benefit for veterans. And even better is the amount of the loan that is forgiven is not considered income for federal income tax purposes, although it may be for state tax purposes. But that's not the change. The change is that Congress made this tax treatment permanent beginning in 2026. So, at least for now, veterans can rest assured that they won't get hit with an unexpected income tax burden should they get their student loans forgiven because they are permanently and totally disabled. If you're not yet permanent and total, but think you might qualify, it may be worth talking to a VA accredited representative or pursuing a new claim for new or increased disability compensation benefits. Now, like for SNAP benefits, you must meet the other eligible requirements for Medicaid. But if you're an able-bodied veteran without dependents aged 18 to 65, you now must work or participate in training for at least 80 hours per month or 20 hours per week to keep your benefits beyond the first 3 months. However, there is an exception to that new rule that could keep many veterans on Medicaid, and this is significant. Veterans rated as totally 100% disabled are deemed to be specifically excluded individuals and do not need to meet the training or work requirements. Importantly, Congress did not require that the veteran be permanently and totally disabled, but rather just totally 100% disabled under VA law. However, the law does have an ambiguity in it, and it's a bit technical. It is not clear whether veterans awarded TDIU qualify as 100% disabled for this purpose. H.R. 1 specifically cites the 38 U.S.C. Section 1155, which authorizes a schedule for rating disabilities with ratings between 10% and 100%. However, TDIU is not authorized by Section 1155. Rather, it's authorized by VA regulations. So while a veteran can be getting paid 100% if they are awarded TDIU, that may not qualify as sufficient to meet the requirement that a veteran be 100% disabled under Section 1155. But that's not the end of the story. There are also openings for veterans who are not 100% disabled. Specifically excluded individuals also includes individuals who are medically frail or have other special medical needs, such as those who are blind, have a substance abuse disorder, have a disabling mental disorder, have a serious or complex medical condition, or have physical, mental, or developmental disorder that significantly impairs the ability to perform one or more activities of daily living. Interestingly, impairment of the ability to perform activities of daily living seems to parallel the requirements for VA's aid and attendance benefits. I've worked with veterans for over 2 decades, and I've seen many people fall into these categories who are not otherwise 100% disabled. So that seems to open the door for many veterans to maintain Medicaid coverage without worrying about the work and training requirements. If you currently use Medicaid for any healthcare services, First, check with your state Medicaid office to see how these changes will affect you. Second, explore whether those services could be covered through VA programs instead, and what disability rating you may need to qualify for that needed priority level. Third, if you're not already 100% disabled, consider filing new claims or seeking increased ratings that may help you get to 100%. And fourth, obtain documentation from your doctors showing that you qualify as medically frail as the law defines that term. A few simple steps now may smooth out the seemingly harsh effects of this new law, especially for disabled veterans. Remember, the law is too new for us to fully understand how it will be implemented in practice, how the courts and the government will interpret it, and how it may affect your everyday life. For specific advice about your benefits, consult with a qualified professional. Look, I know this is a lot to process. Some of you are getting good news today, and some of you are getting challenging news. But with some preparation, planning, and a little work, it may be possible to mitigate the harshest of the effects of H.R. 1 and perhaps find ways to use this new law to obtain or keep the benefits that you deserve. Everyone who listens to Vets with Benefits is part of our community. We appreciate and want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments what you think about this episode. What did you learn? What do you think of the changes made by the One Big Beautiful Bill? I'd love to hear. And as always, if you find this information useful, then like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think will find it helpful. And thanks. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. As a quick reminder, yes, I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer unless we already agreed to work together. While the things we talk about on this podcast may be legal in nature, it is not legal advice. If you need a lawyer, you should reach out to a qualified, licensed attorney in your area. This podcast and all of its content are owned by BSCC Media, LLC. Thanks for listening.